the college basketball experience. Lamont Paris to the South Carolina Gamecocks episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks presented by WinBet. Bet $50 at WinBet and get $200 in free bets. Bet big, win bigger with WinBet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WinBet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WINNBET to claim your free bets today. We're also brought to you by IP Vanish. IP Vanish is the official VPN of SGPN, and they're offering 70% off if you go to ipvanish.com/SGP. That's ipvanish.com/SGP. We're also brought to you by SGPN Discord. Yes, make sure you check out our new Discord server, the perfect place to interact and sweat out bets with the entire SGPN crew. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord.
Hey, what's up, you degenerate gamblers? This is Bill Burr, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, baby.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college basketball experience. Lamont Paris to the South Carolina Gamecocks. My name is Colby Swinging Dantabase Dant, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
Nobody knows nothing. Somebody knows. Double the price. But no one touches Dundee.
Oh, it wasn't that long ago that the Gamecocks were in the Final Four. Not that long ago. I am joined by, college basketball guru for the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, but also a guy who's living down there in the Carolinas. I know it's in North Carolina. He's on Tobacco Road, but he's close. I'm so curious to see what he has to say. Give it up for the rooftop IPA drinking, homebrew making, Tobacco Road living, the free lock giving, former Herndon Basketball League MVP. Give it up for NC Nick in the place to be.
There we go. How we doing, man?
I mean, I think we're doing great. If you are a fan of the South Carolina Gamecocks, now
that Final Four was 2017.
That's
and
not that long ago.
It not too long ago. I remember it all too well because on their road to the Final Four in the second round, they knocked off my Duke Blue Devils, who were a 2 seed, and South Carolina was a 10 seed, I believe. Oof. They were either a 7 or a 10 because they played in that 7-10 matchup. I think they beat Marquette round 1. I forget who was the 7 seed, who was the 10 seed. It doesn't matter.
I can figure that out for you, but it wasn't that long ago. That was their best season probably since the days of Alex English. They were a 7 seed. South Carolina was. They lost to Gonzaga in the Final Four only by 4 points. They were right there. They almost played in the national championship. Wow, when you consider that.
And what's kind of crazy, Frank Martin was there for about 10 years. That was his only trip to the NCAA tournament. And his lone trip, he goes all the way to the Final Four. So obviously in 10 seasons, you need to make more than one NCAA, even if you're at South Carolina, who does not have a long tradition of being very good, on the basketball court. Still though, they were patient. And I think his problem was he wasn't able to bring in the required talent there.
And it seemed like when he did get one would transfer out. I felt like I am a fan of Frank Martin. I think he's a good basketball coach, but I do think it had gotten stale.
He's kind of old school too. I like him also. I think he is a good coach. But look, we can just see in the SEC this offseason, they're hiring a lot of new coaches this year, a lot of young guys too. A lot of guys below 50, under 50, So I don't know.
Well,
just saying.
With the NIL transfer portal, maybe Frank Martin is looked upon as a dinosaur. I'm not sure, but I can tell you this: I know the UMass Minutemen are probably loving the fact that they got Frank Martin.
And we shouldn't come down just on Frank Martin because South Carolina is a tough place to win at because nobody's really won there in basketball. Before Frank Martin, it was Darren Horn. In 4 years, the best he could do was get to 1 NIT. Before Darren Horn was Dave Odom, more famously at Wake Forest. He coached Tim Duncan and Randolph Childress and some of those guys. In his 7 years in South Carolina, only 1 NCAA championship, and they lost in the first round. Not championship. NCAA tournament. Yeah.
Yeah.
They did not win the championship. So I mean, South Carolina's a tough place to win. Frank Martin couldn't get it done. It's gonna be tough for Paris as well.
How about this though? Frank Martin only had, well, I guess when he first took over, he had 2 losing seasons, but since then he only had 1 losing season, and that was the COVID year. I understand you want more out of your program, you want to make the tournament more, but it's not like he was given, a losing team year after year.
They were solid, they were tough, they were chippy, but they weren't as talented as most of the other teams in the SEC, and that's why his SEC record at South Carolina is 44.4%.
Believe it or not, they had never. I'm seeing it here. Okay, they got to the regional semifinals with Frank McGuire in the early 70s. Like I said, I think Alex English might have been on one of those. That might have been the late 70s, though. I'm not sure, but he took them not only to the Final Four, he took them by far the furthest they'd ever been. So in that capacity, no, I'm talking about Frank Martin.
Yeah. Okay.
In that capacity, you almost think maybe he should have been given another year, but I don't know. Regardless, he's now at UMass, and we're wishing him the best. But in comes Lamont Paris, and I know maybe if you're, the token, maybe just I watch March Madness every year, and I watch the big Duke Carolina games. Well, maybe you don't know who Lamont Paris is, and Lamont Paris, I think, has done a fantastic job in a short amount of time as a head coach. I mean, first off, Lamont Paris played at Worcester University, that is in Ohio, and he began his coaching career at DePaul, not the DePaul you think of, not in Chicago. This is a different DePaul that is located in Greencastle, Indiana, and then IUP. Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and then he landed a job on Keith Dambrot's Akron Zip staff. Akron keeps like a decent program, and then he got on Bo Ryan's staff at Wisconsin from 2010 to 2017, which I do believe was the year. Wasn't 17 the year they? No, what year was they? What year did they play Duke in the national championship?
That was 2015.
Okay, yeah, so he was there then.
Yeah.
And he gets hired by the Chattanooga Mocs back in 2017. And if you look at what he did, year 1, 10-23, you're thinking, I don't know. Year 2, 12-20, you're thinking, I don't know. But then to quote the great George W., here comes. Well, the first 2 years you're thinking you can't win, and then I can't find my clips.
Come on, man! What are you doing over there?
It's easy to see a tide turn.
The tide turned, and
year 3 makes sense. You got to get some traction, get your guys in there.
20-13, 10-8 in conference, still finished for 5th in conference. That's how good the SoCon is. Then year 4, 18-8, 4th in the conference. And then last year, 27-8, first place in the SoCon, and that team, I would argue, at last year, we didn't get a lot of buzzer beaters in the NCAA tournament last year. I think the game of the year last year was the SoCon championship. Out of all the games, I mean, Duke Carolina, you could argue, I know that was. I mean, for you probably not. You don't want to argue that.
It was still a great game.
But that Chattanooga, what was it? Who was it? Chattanooga and who were they playing in the championship game? That was a wild game. I mean, the guy pulls up from like half court, buries the thing.
Was it Furman?
I think it was Furman. Yes,
it had to be either Furman or Wofford.
It was Furman, 64-63. overtime game winner from, and like, I thought the guy should have passed it. He didn't. He shot like a double coverage, probably a 40-footer, 45-footer, buried it. And they should have beat Illinois in the NCAA tournament. They lost 54-53. They were up the whole game until like the final 2 minutes.
That was brutal.
That was a brutal loss in Pittsburgh there, but Lamont Paris heads over to the University of South Carolina.
Before we do that, I think his style of basketball, I mean, the Wisconsin, fingerprints are all over the style of basketball he plays. Very defensive oriented, good rebounding team, slow paced team. Last year, Chattanooga was the best defensive team in the SoCon, only averaged 64.4 points per game giving up. And but their pace in the 300s, 304th in the nation. So that screams Wisconsin. That screams good fundamentals, slow down the rock, limit possessions, play tough defense, rebound well. And that's a recipe for winning a lot of games.
It is. And I think at first when you heard the hire, you say who? But if you watch SoCon basketball, first off, here at the College Basketball Experience, by the way, subscribe. We are on YouTube. Subscribe to wherever you're listening to podcasts or on YouTube. But we talk college basketball year round here, and the SoCon is like a low key, really good basketball conference.
Definitely,
like night in, night out. It was pretty fucking deep. I actually think it was like outside of your power conferences. I think you can make a case that of late, I feel like the past 2 or 3 years, SoCon has really elevated their game. Even like VMI used to be a pushover. No, not
right.
Recently. Some of these schools have really came up. So I do think
we should give some love to Chattanooga too, because they've been a good basketball program for a long time. It wasn't like Lamont Paris had to build this up, from the ground up. He replaced Matt McCall, who
went to UMass too.
yeah, exactly. But McCall coached 2 years in Chattanooga. He took them to one NCAA tournament, overall 48-18 in 2 years. Job well done. And then, do you remember who it was before McCall?
At Chattanooga.
This is a tough one, man. This is a Jeopardy.
Who is it? Who was it?
The one and only Will Wade.
Oh,
before he went
shop to you drop, customers.
And he also had 2 years very well, 40-25 at Chattanooga. So Chattanooga's been a good program for a long time now.
Well, they were really good last year. They probably, and I actually think had they beaten Illinois, they could have been a live dog moving forward. But so here's the thing though, with Frank Martin leaving South Carolina, well, I guess first I'll ask you this question. Is South Carolina in a better spot today than they were a year ago?
I think you have to say yes, because as you mentioned, things got stagnant under Martin. They gave him 10 years. It wasn't working out. There was a revolving door via the transfer portal, players coming and going. They couldn't build the continuity from year in to year out to turn it into a winner. So, we don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Paris is a better head coach than Frank Martin. All I know was a change was needed and some fresh blood was needed. Let's see what he can do. And so far, pretty good start.
Well, before I even get into the transfer portal, which is a big factor here. I mean, you want to talk about a slam dunk. I mean, I don't know if I have, what can I play? How about this? Yes, that's what needs to be played, because Lamont Paris, just in the past, I think 10 days, he flipped the number 1 recruit in the nation, AKA G.G. Jackson, straight out of Columbia, South Carolina, might I add. He flipped them from almighty North Carolina, where he was supposed to enroll. He was supposed to enroll next year. Well, guess what? G.G. Jackson will be playing ball in 2 months or 2.5 months.
5-star freshman, power forward, 6'9", 210. Paris got him to stay home and play for the Gamecocks, which is absolutely huge. Talk about a possible momentum builder. to get so this is only the second 5-star South Carolina's ever landed. The first, I believe, was PJ Dozier, but back like 7-8 years ago. He never really panned out either. So huge get, and look, they're going to need it because, like we see with most first-year head coaches, a lot of players left via the portal because of the coaching change. So they needed somebody to step in and be their go-to guy. GG Jackson's it.
I mean, even if he's one and done, which who knows now with NIL, he might be 2 years, but I still feel like the number one in the recruit in the nation. A lot of times it's a one and done situation. But
who else was recruiting him? I know he stole him. So he had a verbal to UNC. I know Duke was in on it.
Duke Clemson was right there.
Auburn was.
Yeah, I want to say Clemson was like. So South Carolina was actually further down. And I don't know. Lamont Paris just came in, said the right thing, said, "Hey, let's stay here and build a winner." And GG Jackson flipping on. I mean, North Carolina played for the national championship. Duke was in the Final Four. Hey, I love it. I actually think it's great for the sport.
Yeah, and I'll go back to what I think Frank Martin's problem was bringing in talent. So maybe the new coach will be better at that.
Yes. So I mean, obviously that is a complete slam dunk. Now I will touch base on the transfer portal because a lot of players did leave. Frank Martin leaves, and then Devin Carter, who was an all freshman guard last year, great first season, averaging 9 points, 3.8 boards in just under 19 minutes, really flashed. And I thought this was a great land by Ed Cooley and the Providence Friars. Then Jermaine Cousinard, who was known as, I think, kind of known as their best player the past couple of years.
I think he was their lead scorer.
Yeah, he went to Oregon. They also lost Mike Green. He didn't play much, but they also lost Wildens. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Levicu.
Close enough.
He joined. He followed Frank Martin to UMass. Eric Stevenson, who I originally knew from Wichita State. This guy's going all around the globe. He goes from Wichita.
He's a player.
Yeah, he is good. To South Carolina, and now he's with Bob Huggins at West Virginia. Then you have Taquan Woodley. Taquan Woodley did leave the Gamecocks, and once again went with Frank Martin.
Not uncommon. A coach taking his players with him.
They also lost small forward Keyshawn Bryant to the South Florida Bulls. Small forward Brandon Martin is in the portal. And I think is that everybody? I think that's everybody
via the portal. Yeah. And also James Reese graduated or his eligibility was over. So, the way I'm looking at it, man, they only return a couple guys like Chico Carter, Jacoby Wright. And those guys, they played very few minutes a year ago. So this is a complete roster overhaul.
Well, GG Jackson will be highlighted, and then when you add in, he went out and got Benjamin Bosmans-verdonk from Illinois.
Great. I love the last name, Verdonk.
Great name. Where is he from? I gotta double check on this. He's a power forward, originally from what? Am I seeing Florida? Did I see Florida on that? Yeah, I don't know. Regardless, that is awesome. That is fantastic.
Only played limited minutes with Illinois, so I'm not quite sure what they're getting there.
Well, he also got Ibrima Deba from the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, and I think that was a pretty solid player for them.
But yeah, that guy has been a solid starter contributor for about 4 years now. So at least he's a fifth-year guy from Sweden. And then also Verdonk is from Belgium. So we're getting a little international flavor here.
Oh, I like it. And then he goes out and gets Troy Boynton from the Evansville Purple Aces. Not bad.
Not much. I don't think he played last year. I was trying to do a little research.
Well, he probably
on
hit the portal because of that coaching situation there was bananas.
Yeah, I don't think he's played. I don't think he's played a game in college yet, though. So I have no idea what they're getting in Troy Boynton.
So he was out last year with an injury, but I think also he wanted to leave because they had that whole Walter McCartney thing happen there.
The scandal. Walter McCartney was hitting on too many college students.
Yeah, and they got Hayden Brown. This is one you want to circle, man.
Yeah.
He averaged 18.8 points per game his last 2 seasons. at the Citadel.
I watched him put up 19 on Duke last year, hitting 4 of 5 from 3. Hayden Brown can play.
And like the Citadel's been a decent program too in the SoCon.
Yeah.
Hayden Brown chose South Carolina over Georgia Tech, over the Ramblers of Loyola Chicago. So I think that was a nice get for them. Michi Johnson from Ohio State. Now, obviously, I'm familiar with Michi Johnson. What do you make of Michi Johnson's game? He's pretty solid, right?
Solid point guard. You know, he played about 17 minutes in games. So he came off the bench, I think, most of the year for the Buckeyes last year. He's solid. There's nothing really stands out about his game, but I think it's a good get for a team that needed bodies. You know, he has experience in the Big Ten, one of the best conferences. He should be able to come in, provide some leadership, some guidance, be a steady point guard for him.
And that's kind of what they did. So I know I got to preview this team later, but
also, go back to recruiting. They also brought in a 3-star power forward and a 3-star point guard. 3 stars, they might not be able to contribute too much year one. So complete roster overhaul. And I mean, Gigi Jackson has to be their ace from day one.
Jackson and what? Deba and what? Hayden Brown, I think.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this: sometimes these systems work. Like Tony Bennett can take, and I know Tony Bennett's a fantastic coach, probably gonna end up a Hall of Famer, but I feel like he could take someone else's team. Like right now, if you drop Tony Bennett into, I don't know, Evansville or something, I feel like he can kind of take the roster there and make them a winning team and perhaps a tournament team.
Yeah, it's almost like he's a really good basketball coach.
Yes, yes.
Now, and there is a uniqueness about the system. Like you could almost say, like in football, like a triple option or something.
Yeah,
where you can kind of do more with less. Yeah, and I agree. I think Paris might be the guy to install such a system.
I think go out and listen to our other episodes where we went out and talked about all the coaching hires in the SEC, whether it was Dennis Gates at Missouri or Matt McMahon at LSU or Todd Golden at Florida or
Chris Jans at Mississippi State. Mike White at Georgia. Did you mention him?
Yeah, Mike White at Georgia.
A lot of coaching turnover in the SEC this year. It's going to make for a pretty fascinating upcoming college basketball season.
I was about to say, like, more so, like, I get it. The ACC, replacing Coach K, obviously huge news. I know you're personally a Duke fan, but obviously that's still going to be some must-watch TV to see how, John Shire does. But, besides that, there hasn't been much turnover in the coaching ranks in the ACC and the Big Ten.
Right.
Even the Big 12, not much. For some reason, I feel like the SEC is kind of must-watch TV because someone's got to win these games. And I made this point on the Chris Jans one, and why I think Mississippi State could end up in the NCAA tournament is because with everyone rebuilding, with the exception of Tennessee's got Rick Barnes, they're talented. Auburn's extremely talented.
Kentucky,
obviously. Well, Kentucky, they'll be in the tournament.
Yeah,
but
Alabama's kind of iffy this year.
Arkansas will be up. I really like what Musselman's done, but I still feel like there's a lot of teams where if you're playing Georgia or Florida or Missouri or Vanderbilt or Mississippi or Mississippi State, even Alabama, I think the door is open for a lot of wins. If one team can capitalize on that, I think you could find yourself in the NCAA tournament. And I think obviously go listen to our other episodes, but I mean, I leaned Chris Jans at Mississippi State because of his coaching experience.
Yeah. But and you have to try to do your best to evaluate the roster, which is with a lot of these new head coaches, it's almost all new faces. So that's kind of hard to do. You have no idea how these teams are going to come together. I would say talent wise, other than Gigi Jackson, I think South Carolina is still a bit limited. I personally would be surprised if they make the NCAAs this year. But
what's a great first year for him?
I think you want to go 500 in conference play. I think you go 500 in conference play. You're installing a brand new system. It took him a while to do that at Chattanooga. You can see his first 2 years were not all that successful. So I think you have to lay the groundwork. Good thing about South Carolina is that they're going to be patient. They just gave Frank Martin 10 years. There's not a whole lot of pressure to win there immediately. So he can take his time. He can build the foundation, get things going, bring talent in to Columbia. And I think he can build a winner over the course of maybe 2 or 3, 4 years.
Will Lamont Paris be there in 5 years in Columbia?
I'm going to say, yeah. Yeah. I think once again, they can be patient with him. I don't think South Carolina is going to expect an NCAA tournament in year 2 or 3. So they want to see incremental improvement. They want some excitement around the basketball program. And I think he brings that.
Let me ask you this. What if Gigi Jackson's just unbelievable? And then all of a sudden you have these nice role players.
Well, look, I mean, if you team Dibba, the guy from Coastal Carolina, up with Michi Johnson, that's not a very talented backcourt, but what it is, I mean, those guys can facilitate. They have experience. They can guide your team and get the big man, the freshman phenom, the ball in advantageous situations. So you're kind of, I mean, you want your talent. It's all about guard play, right? We always say college basketball is all about guard play. So a very talented big man can only do as much as the help he gets from the perimeter. Yeah. So you want more talent on one hand with your guards, but at least they're steady veterans. They're not young.
I'm looking back. I'm trying to quickly. I should have probably did. So Chet Holmgren was the top player in 2021. If he has an effect like Chet Holmgren or Apollo Banchero was number 2, maybe they could. I mean, go back to 2020. It was Cade Cunningham.
Is it almost more like Patrick Baldwin? Like, look, South Carolina has more talent than Milwaukee, but still, it's like a big man placed on a team that's not very good.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's a very fair point.
You can't even say Holmgren or Banchero because they were going on rosters that were loaded.
It's true. Very true. I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch. It's must-watch TV for me. South Carolina.
Did you answer the question? 5 years?
I do think he's there in 5 years because but I do think if he excels, you got to watch him to get it plucked at another university. You know what I mean?
Agree. Like, I would say the chances are that he gets plucked are higher than he gets fired in the first 5 years. If he turns around the ship very quickly, he could go elsewhere. I agree.
Let me ask you this. He is from like the College of Wooster, Ohio. He grew up in Ohio. Like, let's say Holtman, I think he is probably in a kind of I think he's okay for now, but maybe 2-3 years from now,
sure.
That Ohio State job comes open. Lamont Paris might head home.
Can't blame him. I think Ohio State's, I don't think it is just flat out. It's easier to win at Ohio State than it is South Carolina. So I would not blame the guy for going, back to his home state, and to take the Buckeye job, but we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. We have no idea if it's going to be open, et cetera, et cetera.
Don't you love what I'm calling for him? A guy who's never coached one game at South Carolina to get a job in the future at Ohio State. I'll say this.
Maybe the Lakers job will open up while we're at it.
I'll say this. I recorded a Notre Dame episode for football earlier today. Subscribe to the College Football Experience as we break down all 131 teams with a solo podcast for each and every team in the land. Subscribe on YouTube as well. But we have the Shane Beamer in South Carolina one coming. But I did call for Marcus Freeman to be Notre Dame's head coach, and I was not aware of this over a year ago. I said I called for Brian Kelly to leave for the NFL and Marcus Freeman to be the next Notre Dame head coach. And by me going back and listening, I found out that I was like, "Whoa, wow! I was spot on."
You got one right.
Maybe I am the rainmaker when it comes to that. Maybe Lamont Paris. These Gamecock fans are like, "This guy sucks. This host sucks. I want to see Lamont Paris coach."
If he's actually a good coach, then let's keep him around a little bit.
What do you grade that? We've been grading the other ones. Go listen to the SEC. All of our other coaching hires that we've gone through and did a solo podcast for each and every one. I give this one, I'm going to go B.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, I thought Frank Martin was a slam dunk hire 10 years ago for South Carolina.
I got him to a Final Four, so maybe.
It certainly wasn't all bad, but overall, one NCAA tournament berth in 10 years ain't going to cut it. I'm telling you, South Carolina is a hard place to win in basketball, but I do like the hire. We'll see how he does, but I think it's a solid B. I think, man. I mean, his track record, He's fairly young. He's 47 years of age. He just landed a top recruit from UNC. So things have started off well. Let's keep that momentum going. Let's see what he can turn Gamecock basketball into.
This is our final one of the SEC new hires. Once again, we have Mike White to Georgia, Todd Golden to Florida, Dennis Gates from Cleveland State to Missouri, Chris Jans from New Mexico State to to Mississippi State, Matt McMahon from Murray State to LSU, and then you have Lamont Paris from Chattanooga to South Carolina. We got to rate these. I got Jans as my number one.
Yeah,
See, the thing is how do you judge this? Do you judge this? Because I think like it's easier to win at LSU than South Carolina, but
that's not necessarily saying it's the better hire. You know?
Exactly.
We're not saying who's going to have the best record either. It's tough, man. A lot of these, there's a lot of similarities between most of these coaches. Most of them have no head coaching experience in the Power 5 or Power 6 conferences, and they're all fairly young. So chances are half of them are going to work out, half of them aren't going to. You know, what side is he? What side is he going to be on? I say he's on the side that he works out. So I think he's towards the top of that list. How about that?
I agree, because I think landing the number one recruit in the nation can only, get the guy some
in your
NIL
first
money.
year. Come on.
You haven't even coached a game yet.
Start
I can't wait to watch
some talent down there, and we'll see what happens.
Let's go. All right, folks. So that concludes this episode. Subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. Like I said, we talk college basketball year round. We're going to get into some team previews in a bit, and yeah, just can't wait for the season. November 7th is when the season tips off. Also remember, subscribe to the College Football Experience. We're deep in there. We're already previewing everything. We've gone through previewing all 13 weeks. We're going team by team, all 131 teams. Subscribe to the College Football Experience. I'm really excited to see what Shane Beamer does with Spencer Rattler and Austin Stogner and Christian Beal Smith, and all just a slew of incoming transfers that I think could really jolt that offense and get South Carolina playing some good ball. It was a decent first year for Shane.
Yeah,
Shane Beamer there.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
a lot of excitement around the football program too.
Let's go Gamecocks. All right. Subscribe to the College Football Experience. Once again, we are on YouTube, College Basketball and College Football Experience. So search for us, and I can't wait for the season. If you give us a 5-star review on iTunes, that would be greatly appreciated, because that's what helps drive this machine of ours over here. But if you do that, take a screenshot on your phone. Find me on Twitter at TheColbyD, or the College Basketball Experience on Twitter at TCE on SGPN, or NC Nick is on Twitter at NC_NICK. Give us all a follow. Patty C, third man in the booth, who's not here today, he's on Twitter at PattyC831. We are the College Football and the College Basketball Experience. Show us that screenshot, and we'll send you a College Basketball Experience t-shirt. Brand new. It looked like this logo if you're watching on YouTube right now. So do that. And check out all of our other great podcasts, the Sports Gambling Podcast. They are already doing their NFL previews, going team by team, all 32 teams. So if you're a Carolina Panther fan, you're an Atlanta Falcon fan, I don't know, any of those teams, a solo podcast for each and every team in the NFL. And also remember to check out all of our other platforms. The College Baseball Experience. I know the SEC plays great college baseball. NBA Gambling Podcast. Fantasy football season's right around the corner. Check out the Fantasy Football Gambling Podcast. MLB Gambling Podcast. Maybe we got some Atlanta Braves fans in the house. Check out that. All of our stuff is out there. Just get the SGPN app. Check out the Discord channel. Come sweat out some bets with us. All right, folks. This is the College Basketball Experience. Lamont Paris to South Carolina. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.